This football looks huge in my hands. I have Kenny Pickett hands. I'm sorry about that.
If you're Geno Smith, just don't throw the ball to the other team.
Things are starting to look up. So
Hey, we always win the offseason, I think, and then when it comes to regular season, all hell breaks loose. Hello, welcome to Football X's and O's Back to School. We'll be talking about surprise picks in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft. I'm Ryan Studo. Alongside me is NFL expert David Scott. David, what a draft, and there's always going to be guys that fall or move up, and there was guys that moved up in this draft.
yeah, every year someone's going to surprise us, and there were a few guys that really caught our eye as someone that we didn't see coming, but they're going to be good players in the league.
I'm going to start with Omar Cooper Jr., who was drafted by the New York Jets with the 30th overall pick. They had to trade up to get him. And I actually did have Cooper going in the first round, actually early 16, but he was falling. He actually could have been a second-round pick. And they just grabbed him because they had a 33rd overall pick. They traded up just 2 spots to get him. And he's only a champion out of Indiana. He was so good in the slot and also on the outside. And he just looks so good. He can be great when it comes to yards after the catch, which, the Jets only need at the wide receiver position. And there was just things that really stood out to me in terms of his tape. Obviously, Surratt was on that offense too, but Mendoza and, Cooper Jr., they were just clicking. I think Cooper Jr. can be a tremendous guy. He's going to be a number 2, obviously, opposite Garrett Wilson. And obviously, they got Kenyon Sadiq as well, so they can just move guys anywhere.
Yeah, this guy was Fernando Mendoza's number 1 receiver, so that should be a big vote of confidence in him from any point. But, we looked as the draft was going on, the board starts to develop, some wide receivers start going off the board, and we get towards the back end of the draft, and we're wondering which one's going to be the next one, because we see Carnell Tate go, obviously. We see Mekhi Lemon, Jordan Tyson, those guys go off the board. The Browns snag Casey Concepcion, and then we're starting to think, all right, who's the next guy that's going to go off the board? Is it going to be Denzel Boston? Is the run on the wide receivers over? Is it going to go into the day 2, day 3? And then the Jets hop up in the back end of the 3rd round, and I saw that text come through from you. You said, this has got to be Omar Cooper,
yeah.
Right? And there it is. He comes off the board. Yeah, I think this is a great pick for the Jets. They've really, really been searching for that number 2 guy behind Garrett Wilson, and Cooper, I think, is going to fill that role perfectly. I think it's a slam dunk location for him to go learn behind Garrett Wilson, but also thrive in that number 2 role, that slot wide receiver role. He's got all the talent to do it, and I think he's going to help build up that Jets offense to be a lot better this year.
Yeah, I think last year he had close to 14 yards per reception, and the drops, you don't have to worry about that department either. I mean, he only had 5 drops in his years with Indiana. So if you're the Jets, you need playmakers desperately. You have A.D. Mitchell, but you also need another guy, and Omar Cooper can be that. He's 22, 23 years old, so he's going to be someone that you're going to have to rely on. If you're Geno Smith, just don't throw the ball to the other team.
Yep.
That's a story for another day, but if you're a Jets fan, which is me, you got to like, the playmakers that they have. But Omar Cooper Jr., I think, was getting slept on for a while. I think the pro day really helped for him. And at the end of the day, I think he just screamed first-round pick. Maybe not top 10, but towards that 15 to 20 range. I'm surprised he actually fell, by the way. I'm actually surprised he was still available at 30, and the Jets were able to get him.
Yeah, if you look at the Jets' offense now outside of the quarterback, they're starting to look really good. And I think as this year goes on, maybe Geno has a bounce-back year, but you look towards 2027, you bring in a new quarterback, which we think is going to be a quarterback-heavy draft, but things could change. But right now, it looks like it's going to be a lot of quarterback talent in that first round, or maybe you swing a trade. The Jets have a lot of first-round picks next year. Things are starting to look up. So
hey, we always win the offseason, I think, and then when it comes to regular season, all hell breaks loose.
All right, well, Omar Cooper is a great prospect and really good surprise to see him go to the Jets. I'm going to talk about the Seahawks surprise pick at number 32 in the draft. Obviously, they win the Super Bowl, so they get the last pick in the first round. Are they going to draft a running back here with that last pick? Seems a little bit unusual to do that. They do lose Kenneth Walker, but they've got Zach Charbonnet. They decide, yeah, we're going to take the running back. So 2 running backs go in the first round. Jeremiah Love goes number 3 to the Cardinals. And then his teammate, Jadarian Price, ends up going number 32 to the Seahawks. I think this could be a great pick for the Seahawks, but this is a really up and down kind of prospect. Now, you look at Jadarian Price, you look at what he did behind Jeremiah Love, and you're really excited about that. Around 700 yards and 11 touchdowns on the ground while he's got Jeremiah Love in front of him. So he's getting a pretty good run while he's got a future all-pro offensive player of the year kind of player sitting in front of him. You really like that. You really like his elusiveness. He's got around like a 26% missed tackle rate. That's incredible. That was first among all players in college football in the 2025 season. So that's another really great thing. Around a 36-yard average on kick and punt returns. That's really good too. So we're looking at him as a returner, as a shifty running back. What does he not do well? Not really a pass catching back. Had 80 yards catching passes last year and I think 1 touchdown. That's just really not his game. Also, he's really loose with the football. You're a running back. You have to be secure with the football, and he just does not hold the football right. That's really coachable. And let's talk about how it's coachable. So toss me that football. So this football looks huge in my hands. I have Kenny Pickett hands. I'm sorry about that. But if you just look at pictures of Jadarian Price, a lot of times you're going to see him with the ball away from his chest or tucked in out while he's running. You see a lot of quarterbacks run like that with the ball out just because they're not true runners. But when you're a running back, you have to be really secure with the ball because what are defensive linemen, defensive tackles, linebackers, edge rushers looking to do? A lot of times now we're trying to peanut punch that ball out. That's just what guys teach. You either peanut punch or you go for the rip. You got to hold the football right to avoid that. And Price does not do that yet. Now, this is a very coachable trait that you can get out of someone. It reminds me of sometimes guys will hold quarters for certain things like that. But there's 5 points of contact that you want to have on the football when you're running the ball. Palm, got to be in the palm. Fingers on the tip, forearm, bicep, chest. This gets you really secure with the football, and it's not going to punch this football. It's not going to come out.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's rips and other, but then also, as you're going through the pile, as you're going through the line, get a little more secure. You're going to be able to hold that out. You look at him running, he's kind of got the ball out. Maybe he's getting 4 points of contact, but he doesn't have it tucked in the chest. That is just going to come right out. So, yeah, thank you. So, ball security is, I think, his biggest issue, and then he's just really not a pass-catching back. Now, I love his elusiveness. I think he could be a good Kenneth Walker replacement. Listen, Price is a good running back. He was the number 2 running back prospect in this class. Could they have gotten him with the 2nd-round pick? I think so. I think they could have traded back a few places into the 2nd round, gotten some more draft capital, and still gotten Jadarian Price. But they like him. And obviously, if you like a prospect, you're going to do whatever you want to get him. He was there. Do the easy thing, draft him in the 1st round, so you've got a 5th-year option on him as well. I like Price. I think he's a really good player. This is the first time ever in NFL draft history that 2 running backs from the same school have gotten drafted in the 1st round, so that's some cool stuff right there. So, listen, coachable traits that we can get fixed with him, but right now he's still a little bit raw for a 1st-round prospect.
I think he's strong too. There's a couple pros I have for him. I think he's strong, and I like his vision too. There are sometimes running backs that don't have good vision, and they're easy to predict. They're not going to do well in the NFL. So I think that's what the Seahawks also saw in Price. But the cons, I just don't love his speed. I don't think his speed is one of his greatest traits compared to running backs that are 1st-round picks in the past. So if I know it's it's just a comparison to other rounds, in other years, but I've seen better 1st-round picks at the end compared to Price. So I give him I thought he was going to be a 2nd or 3rd-round pick, and I get it. It's close to the 2nd round, but I don't know. That was a little too high for my liking. I thought the Seahawks, what they love to do, they love to trade down, maybe take a quarterback because they lost a couple guys, in the offseason. So I thought it was a little bit of an iffy pick, but hey, they're the Seahawks. They only won a Super Bowl title, and Schneider, he knows the thing or two. All right, my surprise pick in the 2026 NFL Draft has to be Malachi Lawrence. The Cowboys drafted him with the 20th overall pick. Now, I was really high on him, and you kind of scoffed at me in our last mock draft.
I was going to give you credit.
Yeah.
Prop yourself up.
But anyway, the Dallas Cowboys, they needed defense. They obviously grabbed Caleb Downs with the 12th overall pick, and what are they going to do? Add more defense. And with that 20th overall pick, Malachi Lawrence out of UCF, he was so amazing with the things that he did. Look, he was from a small school, obviously. 7 sacks. So you see 7 sacks, like, oh, I'm not too amazed. Well, look at the tape and you'll be amazed. I mean, he's just a standout player. He's very athletic. I think he was one of the most athletic edge rushers coming out of this draft class. And Malachi Lawrence, he just made, opponents look silly. I mean, he was just the way he bends, his bull rush. There were so many, aspects and traits that he performed last year that really stood out to me. I think he could have had 10 or more sacks. So I think he got a little bit unlucky in that department. So Malachi Lawrence, I think he was getting a lot of buzz towards the end of, the draft cycle. He really stood out at the combine. I think his percentiles in terms of, 40-yard dash, the broad jump, 96, 98%. So that just showed teams how great he was. And also the Dallas Cowboys, you just think that Jerry Jones makes all the picks. Okay, he's a GM, he's the owner. He gives the approval to whatever his guys have to say. But I think Will Clayton, one of the top guys for the Cowboys, he talked 10, 15 minutes. So that just shows you this was not a Jerry Jones pick. So for people that don't like Jerry Jones picking guys, this was not him. This was Will Clayton, who has gotten great players in the past, Demarcus Lawrence, for example. So I would really trust this pick for the Cowboys. I think he was getting really overlooked in this class. So I think it was just a matter of, other guys that really stood out, like the Arvell Reeses of the world, David Bailey's. But Malachi Lawrence coming out of a small school, that's why he went 20th overall.
Yeah, and also, the Cowboys were able to trade back and actually get this pick, which is really impressive for them. They let the Eagles jump up and steal Mekhi Lemon from the Steelers, and then, they go on and they make their pick of Malachi Lawrence here. Yeah, it was a great pick. I was not expecting him to go in the first round for a while. We see him get that hype, that steam as we get closer to draft day, and then he ends up going mid-first round, a lot higher than I expected him to go. And you're right, I think it ends up being the right place for him. You look at his relative athletic score, which combines height, weight, arm length, the combine measurements, production, all those things. And this is a scale out of 10.
Yeah.
It's high 9, close to 10. So relative athletic score is not everything,
yeah,
and it can be flawed, but it really shows you how prospects weigh out against other guys when they were prospects as well. And you look at that high relative athletic score, and you're really excited, and that helps you look past some of the lower stat numbers and the smaller school. But still, UCF produces good talents. They've had good teams in the past, and I think Lawrence, can really anchor that Cowboys defense. They've been looking for edge rushing talent. And I think that first round for the Cowboys was just a slam dunk.
In his hands, I think they're close to 36-inch hands. So this is not, Ruben Bain has that issue. He does not have that issue of just, manhandling his opponents. So I think they got a steal in this class. And I honestly think we're doing like, those, do past mock drafts. Like maybe in a couple of years, we'll be redrafting this class. He might be a top 10 pick at the end of the day. I think that's how good he can become. I think the one con I will give him, he's not that great against the run. I think he had a little bit of trouble in that department. But look, you're drafting him for his pass rushing abilities. And if you're the Cowboys, they were not getting to the quarterback at all. You got to really like what they did if you're a Cowboys fan.
All right, so I'll go to my last surprise pick of the 2026 NFL Draft. It's going to be Caleb Banks, a defensive tackle out of Florida. He ends up going to the Vikings, and I think this ends up being a pretty solid pick. Now, you gave yourself some praise. I'm going to give myself some praise.
There you go.
Go back in some of our old mock drafts, and I had him going as the first defensive tackle off the board, which he does in this draft. And I think he's just, it's a high ceiling, but there's some issues that we're going to have to sort out, and that's mainly we've got some injury concerns. Now, if you look back at the 2024 tape, you love Caleb Banks. This is who you're drafting him to be. A run stuffer that's able to get good pressure on the quarterback, get some sacks while also stuffing up those lanes. Very versatile on the defensive line. Issue is 2025, we don't see too much of him. He's hurt a lot. He ends up needing foot surgery after the NFL Combine. Now he's expected to be good to go for training camp, for preseason, for the season. But still, foot injuries can be very concerning. Those are things that can be nagging and that can come back pretty frequently. Now, I'm not too concerned about it because I really like him as a player, and I'm going to throw some stuff on the board to show why I think he's a good player. Let's talk about Caleb Banks as a versatile player on the defensive line. So let's circle. Good Lord. Let's just point out that the middle player on the line is Caleb Banks. That's your defensive tackle. Now, he works well as both a nose tackle, a true defensive tackle, and sometimes you can kind of slide him out towards the edge. Now, what is he good at? If we spread out the line a little bit just to show these lanes, he is good at when your running back is getting that inside handoff, he's going to be really good at forcing the center or the guard back to really plug up those lanes to not let the running back get through. Really close it up behind the line. Now, he's also got a good ability to get through the center or guard and get down and get to the quarterback. A defensive tackle that can get down, get pressure, or force the linebacker to help swat down some footballs, that's really impressive. At the same time, good Lord, messing everything up here. All right, let's
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Let's condense this again. At the same time, you can kind of move him over to the outside line. Now, listen, he's not an edge rusher. He's a huge dude. But he's going to be able to force those tackles in, really help collapse the pocket to put some big pressure on the quarterback to make them either bail out or just get overwhelmed by their line and Jesus. Well, that's the last thing we needed to do anyway. But listen, the point is, he's got some real game-wrecking ability. The issue is is he going to be healthy enough to do that? Now, the foot injury, it seems like they're not concerned about it. From everything I've seen, he got the fractured whatever bone in there. The surgery was successful. It looks like he's going to have a good time healing from it. So we're not concerned about his ability in the NFL. I just want to know if we're going to get back to that 2024 tape. If we do, slam dunk pick for the Vikings. I think he's going to be a great defensive tackle, nose tackle, however you want to play him. The injury is why we're a little surprised he ends up going in the first round, because a guy like Caden McDonald falls into the second round, who a lot of people had above Caleb Banks. So is this the perfect pick for the Vikings? Not quite. We're a little bit surprised that it happened. However, if we're drafting based purely on potential, I think he's right around where he should have been.
Yeah, like you said, I think everyone, including me, just penciled in the Vikings. Oh, they're going to get Dylan Thieneman and everything's going to work out. No, they pass on him and get Banks, and they're telling everyone, and I think they might be right, he's going to be a top 10 player coming out of this draft. So just looking at the tape, when he's healthy, he's a monster. I think he's just a mauler, and like you said, I just think he can just make opposing defense look like very silly out there, and just the way he's just so strong and everything. So and they need defensive tackle too. So that's not something they were like, oh, we have guys at defensive tackle, let's do, like, there's a reason why they're picking him. It's based on value. They value him a lot, but also positional need. Defensive tackle is one of the biggest needs for the Vikings.
Yeah, throughout the whole draft process, for a lot of the prospects that we've talked about, I just love the size and guys. I love just big dudes that can go out there and wreck the game. And that's exactly what Caleb Banks is. I think Brian Flores is going to have a real fun time with him. And if he's healthy, I think that Vikings defense can really come together as a unit and do some damage.
And I love Malachi Lawrence, but this guy, he was facing better competition too, superior competition. So I think the Vikings nailed it as long as he stays healthy. All right, that's going to wrap things up here. Football X's and O's back to school. You can watch us every week. We also have other offseason content. Please like and subscribe and let us know in the comments who you think is the surprise NFL draft pick of the 2026 class.